Hello everyone, and welcome to another Company of Heroes Operation Market Garden Shoutcast. We have another 3v3 to take a look at today. I do not know what happens in this game, but I heard it was one worth checking out, so I'm excited to kind of take a look at what happens and see what fun stuff we can kind of enjoy watching. There are 6 players in this game. It is a 3v3, and so we're going to kick things off. We're going to take a look at who's playing and what they bring onto the field, and we'll see what we see. So here we go. Alright, so a little bit of a delay before people bring on their units. First person I'm going to take a look at, you'll recognize this player from our most recent Shoutcast, Shoutcast number 1, Scaffa, also known as WalterArmbrusch. He is running a Stug and Volksgrenadier company. From what I understand, this was one of the first games that he was trying this company out. Over here on the right we have Nutz, also known as Chrono, who also is running, well, I guess he's running a stew, not a stug, but infantry supported by kind of a self-propelled gun. And then over here on the left we have Icki playing Panzer Elite. You don't normally see Icki running Panzer Elite too often. This is his Tank Hunters company, so we'll see how that goes for him. Up here on the Allies side, another name you'll recognize from the last game that I shoutcasted. This is UKPowerMax, a strong player. He runs Airborne, which are a very strong doctrine in Operation Market Garden right now. We've got Fabulousrug running Brits. Looks like he's running Royal Canadian Artillery. And we've got over here Unlimited running, I want to say maybe armor or infantry. We'll take a look closer. So right off the bat, Scaff is going right in there. He's not wasting any time. He kind of knows, I guess, that he's up against a British player, so there's probably not going to be too many ATGs in this area. That gives him a chance to move in a little bit aggressively with his Stug. Of course, he can see, because Icki is scouting, that there is an ATG over here on the left flank. That's going to force him to have to keep things back a little bit. Now, this is going to be a bit tricky for Icki. He's already lost... Oh no, he's already lost a mortar half-track. He doesn't really have the initial call-in that is going to help him aggressively push right from the start. And losing that mortar half-track is big. So that's going to put a lot of pressure now on Scaffa. The Allies have a nice position entrenched in here. They are a little bit bunched up though, so if anyone had any off maps, now would be the time. Over on the right, looks like Chrono has lost a lot of his infantry already, and not really traded well. So kind of similar to the last game that I showcasted, one side is already on their back foot here. I mean, at the very least, there is kind of even map control, but it's a little bit worrying how much the Axis have lost so quickly. That's not going to be good. You usually want to be out trading the Allies, given that their infantry is cheaper, you know, for the most part anyway, and so a little concerning if you're not out trading them this early on. So right now, one thing that I do like is Chrono, Icki, and Scaffa are pushing one player together, which is nice. The Allies are kind of caught a little flat-footed on the left flank here. They haven't adapted. There's a lot of Canadian infantry and riflemen from Fabulousrug that are kind of just having picnics over here. UKPowerMax is starting to bring over his ATG, but like this Stug has just been running rampant over here, kind of unmolested for a while. So I think ideally that would have happened a bit sooner. And even still, Fabulousrug just seems to kind of be sitting here with all of this for unknown reasons. So yeah, this shouldn't be happening. your teammates been kind of run off the field here. You need to be moving. UKPowerMax doing a much better job putting some kind of pressure over here, not just letting the allies have their way with, the Axis have their way with things. But like this is really, really not good. This should not be happening. And so if you're ever find yourself in a game and your teammates are fighting 2 or 3 of the enemy all at once, another half-track from Icki goes down, needs to do a better job keeping those alive. Don't be like Fabulousrug, and he's not AFK because these units are moving. So don't do this. Bad. Anyway, back to the game. The Axis, they're still a little bit on their back foot. Yeah, they had a good, decent push over here on the right that made Unlimited lose a lot of his units, but they didn't really consolidate that territory. They kind of just pulled back and now have kind of got themselves trapped. And on this map, it's really easy, if you can kind of see this line of buildings that I'm kind of mousing over here, to get stuck and to put yourself in a position where in order to push, you need to kind of come through these choke points that support weapons, ATGs can kind of lock down. So they really, it's early in the game, all is not lost, and this is still totally up in the air who's going to win this one, but you've put yourself in a tough position if you're 6 minutes into the game and you're already kind of balled up building bunkers. Yeah, I really think Nutz is investing way too much of his pop cap at this early stage in multiple bunkers. The allies have, the Axis have 27 pop, and they've got a medic half track, they've got a medic bunker, and now they have a repair bunker, all of which are going to eat their pop tied up already. You usually don't want to have 6, 8, 9, pop, if not more, locked away in these types of units when your pop is only 27. Meanwhile, it's kind of just being a mortar game for the moment. The Axis do have the advantage given the improved range of their mortars, so good job there counter-mortaring, although there are more from the allies still to come. Not sure what this MG is doing from Chrono, just kind of sitting out in the open. Icki is working on making a push here. He's got Scafo with him. There's a lot of units, though, still kind of just tied here. And because there's no ATG support, I actually think they could be moving up. Yeah, it looks like Scafo already kind of knew that. But it'd be nice to see a little more support from his team. It would be nice to be seeing this Stu move up, this MG. I guess probably Chrono's attention is focused on the counter mortar game. And it looks like he's doing a pretty good job counter mortaring, so that's nice. Icki is losing a lot to this MG. Luckily, Scaff has got nades on his Volks Grenadiers, which is one of the upgrades for his Doctrine. And he's also making use of the fact that this building doesn't have a hole on this side, so the MG actually can't shoot out. Really good thing to do whenever you're playing Company of Heroes. Keep an eye on buildings and whether or not they have blind spots that you can take advantage of. A newer player or a less experienced player might see an MG in a building and tell themselves, oh, there's no way I can move my infantry up and either launch nades or fight here, because they'll just get suppressed. But a good player like Scafo will be able to see that that's a safe spot. So keep an eye out for that kind of thing. It can be pretty cool. Alright, so Icki has got a lot of pop kind of tied up here. This martyr isn't doing anyone any good cloaked back here. 4 Panzergrens plus a medic half track. I think that's 6 pop. So that's almost a quarter of his, that's almost a fifth, I guess, of his pop, or more than a fifth of his pop. That just isn't going to be contributing any direct combat advantage. Sure, it might be getting a repair on this Stu, but map control is the key right now, and not having it is an issue. But Scaffa doing an aggressive push up in this direction, which is great. He's going to have to worry about this Hellcat, although it is low HP for the moment, and he probably has Fausts on all of these Volksgrenadiers. And one thing that we'll probably see a few times in this game are aggressive flanks like this. We saw it a lot in the last Shoutcast. They're good at breaking stalemates. They're good at making the enemy team have to move units backward to address them. The one risk is you can get encircled and lose your entire flanking force, especially if your allies, as we're seeing with Chrono here, don't get the memo. And like, you know, look at how much of the allied force is now moving in this direction, and look how little any of this is moving. This Shrek, these two MGs could be moving into the town and taking up positions right now, getting into these critical buildings, getting out of this, you know, Maginot line that they've been stuck in for a while, and none of that's happening. And that's a waste of a good flank. Look at all the opportunity that's been created by this flank for the Axis to regain some territory, set up positions, come in and support their teammate with more than just one tank. So lost opportunity a little bit, and a good example of the difference between a player that will win a lot and players that just will win sometimes. Making the enemy have to adapt to you, taking the initiative, shaking up the front line, something that we've seen Scaffa do, and we can see how that has come to fruition with kind of this big flank, and the counterpoint is this. So Icki's kind of going on a grand adventure with this martyr right now. Okay, he's going to take out the triage. That's a good use of that martyr, for sure, as long as he can get away with it, and it looks like he just might. Taking out a triage or a casualty clearing station in this case, especially when you're up against Airborne and RCA players, is definitely a good idea if you can swing it. And the only reason this is possible is because, again, all of the ATGs or the vehicles or the infantry had to do a big swing over here to address the mayhem that Scaffa was causing, and is still causing, it's got to be said. And that opened up the opportunity for Ick to try and take out that CCS. It didn't succeed, but he did quite a bit of damage to it, and I'm sure he'll be back in a different form to finish the job. This Shrek Grand still kind of sitting back there forgotten, which isn't the best. But yeah, I'd say the theme so far that we've seen is, and I don't know who wins this game. I actually have no idea if it's Allies or Axis, but I'm already seeing, okay, there he goes, he's trying to move. A lot more movement from the Allies, a lot more teamwork, and from the Axis I'm seeing a lot more kind of just stagnation, and disconnected pushes at different times. So far, the most success I think the Axis have had in getting kills, as you saw, was this push here. Definitely feel like that earned its resource investment back, and then some. This back cap by Icki I think is relatively low cost for high gain, so that I would also say is, while not, you know, leading to the destruction of a lot of allied forces, at least making something happen, keeping the game kind of dynamic. But this is an issue, and this amount of pop that the Axis have not consolidating any of these wins that they're having in terms of territory is concerning. It could come back to haunt them later on. Right now the Allies also seem a little bit disorganized. I'm curious where all their infantry is. because as you can see, the Axis are definitely fielding a lot of infantry squads, even if some of them are a little too stagnant. And where's all the pop from the Allies? It looks like they have way too many vehicles on. UKPowerMax is running 2/3 of his population in M10s alone, and then when you add in an ATG, he's got 25 pop or something close to it tied up in AT. I'm not sure that's a good idea. They're struggling just to take back territory, and I think they're really going to struggle against all of this infantry once the Axis do kind of get things together and push. I don't think you need to have 2 M10s, a Cromwell, and a Hellcat on when your team is sitting at 31 global pop, and you already have 2 ATGs and a Piat squad, and a Shrek group of assault airborne. So a little bit of panic, I want to say, from the Allies. Again, it could probably be traced back to this big push that happened on the right. Seems to have led to them not talking to each other and bringing on units they didn't need. They're lucky that the Axis are kind of being way more slow than they need to be in pushing, because they could easily be overrun given the fact that they basically only have AT and limited AI on the field. Icki is taking a page out of Scaffa's book here with this push, although he's not brought any AT with him. Oh no. Oh no. So, what the heck? We were just talking about how the Allies have way too much in the way of tanks on, namely anti-tank tanks, not even dual-purpose tanks, and Fabulousrug has decided that he needs to bring on a Firefly. To do what? What are you fighting? A martyr? A stug and a stew? So this is kind of a good example of the multiple layers of gameplay that are at play in a mod like Operation Market Garden. You're not just worried about your micro, you're also thinking about macro. You're thinking about what units you not only need to have on the field now, but what units you might need 5 minutes from now, based on not only what your enemy has shown you they have on the field, but also what you think they might call on. And so I just think not great choices have been made by the Allies so far. There's way too much AT-based tank units currently on, when really the Axis only have 2 low-cost tanks, not even tanks, self-propelled guns, and anti-tank vehicles on the field. You would expect probably to see this amount of AT from the Allies, probably if the Axis were fielding a lot of Panthers or King Tigers or what have you. And as you can see, you know, that Firefly was pretty helpless with no infantry to kind of screen for it. Yeah, not the best. So now it's actually the Allies who are kind of getting caught really flat-footed. The Axis have made a great push into this town. There's still units sitting back here that shouldn't be, but they have the momentum for sure. And finally we have more infantry coming in from the Allies, although UKPowerMax has kind of been out of this game for 4 or 5 minutes now. These M10s have massively crippled his ability to influence or even participate meaningfully in this game so far. Yeah, and it's kind of given even the Axis, who have kind of been a little bit more hesitant than they probably should be, time to slowly start to move up. With that said, I don't know if I agree with the Axis pulling back this far. They seem really keen to, whenever they get some kind of momentum, to pull back all the way to here. The stew, the engine is not damaged. It has taken some damage, but it's certainly not the priority for repairs right now. Should still be up here. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with how much of that hard-fought territory the Axis are kind of just giving back for free, especially since their opponents, you know, only have 2 players who can kind of project some real map presence at the moment. Okay, so Nashorn's coming on the field. Scaffa's infantry blob is probably the primary threat to the Allies at the moment, especially since other than these infantry from Unlimited, there's not much that can counter them. Yeah, I'm not sure why the Axis are giving up so much of this map. Yeah. It's weird. Cool, so it looks like the Allies are going to move over to the left and try to get something going over there. Probably a good idea. The stew has proved to be a bit nasty for them in some of the choke points that this map offers. So maybe they're hoping that they can kind of gather together and make a push through here. UKPowerMax has finished repairing, but we're now looking at 5 or more minutes where 16, probably half his pop, more than half his pop is tied up in either AT or repairs for that AT. And you know, in his defense, the Axis have given him all that time unmolested to kind of do that, when probably they could have been making his teammates pay and isolating them. But it is what it is. And yeah, it's I think we just saw in chat Unlimited was mentioning how it's a little too quiet. It is a little too quiet right now. Both sides are kind of just taking a breather, I guess. But yeah, again, like if the Axis has consolidated any of that territory that they won when the Allies had the wrong units to kind of stop them, they could have easily made it really costly for the Allies to get back into this area of the map. Just a little too cautious, a little too careful, little too passive, I think. And if the Axis end up losing this game, I think that could be one of the moments they look back on and say, hey, we gave away territory we had won for free. That was a nice bombing run. I'm assuming that was from, well, it had to have been from UKPowerMax. Anytime you can get a pack and an Axis mortar, not just decrewed, but completely destroyed, that's a good use of your map for sure. He's going to try and make something happen with these M10s that have been on the field for a long time now. I think he's going to have a real hard time. Chrono's got Shrek Blob there. Hopefully he doesn't decide to... Okay, he might... Oh, he knows something's up. Good move. Good move to not take the bait there. Fabulousrug is moving around these vanilla Canadian infantry. I think they are going to struggle to do too much with no upgrades to speak of and no captain or lieutenant. Chronos Stew has been having a great game so far. Icki is a bit asleep at the wheel over here with his martyr, but Chronos ambush pays off, and we'll see if UKPowerMax can make something happen with these 2 M10s he's kind of had on the field for a long time. It doesn't look like he's going to. Yeah. Those 2 M10s, yikes. They did not have a good game. Not just in terms of the value they returned for their cost, which they absolutely did not return their cost, but in terms of how much pop they kind of absorbed or were occupying. Yeah, that calling those on, I'm not sure was the right idea. But one thing I am liking about what I'm seeing is the Axis are making use of the initiative that they've gained, and now the Allies don't have enough AT. Ooh. Well, that was nice. Unlimited managed to suppress, but oh, no. Chrono, what are you doing, my friend? That was an unnecessary retreat of a huge amount of resources. Oh, that's potentially game-changing that he's decided to pull those off. I would say unnecessarily. Yes, they were at risk with a strafing run coming in, but you know, there was no guarantee that that was going to kill all of them. It was actually highly unlikely it would kill all of them, and yeah, I think that's not a good thing that just happened there. Over here on the right, again, the Allies have pretty good initiative right now. They've definitely traded better. I don't like the unit composition the Allies have brought on. It actually feels like now would be the time for them to bring on that Firefly we saw earlier, for even maybe to bring on those 2 M10s we saw earlier, because you've got a Tiger on the field, you've got a Nashorn on the field, you've got a Martyr, and now you're probably hoping for some fast, mobile anti-tank weaponry. You've seen the Storms get run off. Your M10s could probably come back into the backfield here, cause a whole lot of chaos, force the Martyrs to have to turn around while your ATG moves up in this direction, and your Firefly would come. So just bad timing, almost reverse timing of what should have been on. There's another Firefly now from Fabulousrug, but this one doesn't have a command tank, so it's going to be markedly less effective than the one we saw before. Yeah, so I think the theme of this game so far would be, if you're the Allies, unit composition and decisions about when and what units to call on, and if you're the Axis, it's taking the initiative and using that to consolidate, not pushing and then retreating back unnecessarily. But right now I would definitely say the Axis look like they're in a better position than the Allies. It certainly feels like they've traded better. But it's still anyone's game for sure, and it could easily go either direction. Okay, so what do we got over here? We've got an easy 8. I think that's an anti-tank Sherman. The Allies have brought a sniper from UKPowerMax. You can usually count on UKPowerMax to do consistent and considerable damage over time with a sniper. So I think that will likely prove to be a thorn in the Axis' side. He's got this croc here to protect it from an infantry rush. Yeah, he should be fine. Fabulousrug is kind of harassing this left-hand flank with his Cromwell. Scaffa's doing another little push here with Icki this time, which is nice. Nice to see them working together. I really question Icki's use of ambush martyrs. I think he can occasionally forget about them, and as a result miss or not take critical shots that his martyr would be able to do otherwise. So I'm not sure that skill or that doctrine unlock is really returning value for him. It might be just adding an extra, micro step that he doesn't need. Probably going to see a kill here from these Pigrens. This easy 8 Sherman. I don't think it got too many kills. I didn't get a chance to take a look at it before it died, but again, we're seeing Unlimited kind of get swarmed and focused by 2 or more Axis, which is really nice to see if you're on the Axis team, because if you can cause significant damage in uneven battles to one player, well, if this game goes on to 50 minutes or even 60 minutes, that player is likely going to be pretty severely depleted later on. With that said, it's also kind of meant that Chrono has been fighting Fabulousrug and UKPowerMax almost by himself, but I think they haven't necessarily pushed nearly as aggressively as the Axis have on Unlimited. And yeah, we're probably gonna see Unlimited lose a lot of stuff here, but he is baiting Scaffa's Volks Grenadier blob into a Cali shot, although 6 kills almost entirely on P-Grens. I definitely don't think that's a trade you want to make for 2 upgraded squads. On this flank, there's just... Now I'm not seeing enough momentum and aggression from the allies over here, I think. You know, if I'm watching this game and I'm on the allied team, or if I'm unlimited, I'm saying, hey guys, you know, I'm basically being camped at my spawn and I'm taking huge losses. Do you want to either push a little harder over here or come help? UKPowerMax has brought over his sniper, but you know, this croc could easily clean up all of this stuff. It looks like it's going there now, but you know, well, maybe it's not. But where has it been all this time while Unlimited's taking big losses over here? So yeah, I just don't understand why these rifles aren't kind of making sure there's no AT over here, and this croc isn't sweeping in here. A little too cautious, a little too safe. Yeah, the officer gets away, and considering Scaffa's company is a lot of Volks Grenadiers, that officer plays a big role in their killing power and survivability. So yeah, missed opportunity for sure. And now this is back to being a thing. Chrono and Icki are just... I don't know if this is like a popular picnic spot, or if this building has a really good band that plays in it that people just can't wait to come see, or if they serve great beer, but there's just no excuse for this when they've had all of this territory, and they're just letting the allies come waltz in for free so that they can park all their units next to this building for no reason. It boggles the mind. You know, there's only one infantry squad on this map right now that is sorry, there are 2 infantry squads, one for Icki, one for Chrono, on the entire map from the Axis that aren't controlled by Scaffa. This is really inexcusable, and this is just asking to lose. Nebelwerfer, Light AT Half Track, Cloaked Martyr, Nashorn. Do you need both of these on at the same time? Repairing Tiger, Pack, like this just is giving up all of the map control, the momentum, the initiative to your opponents. Yeah, it's going to be really hard for the allies to capitalize on the kills and the gains they're making if every time they make some they just pull back to here and, you know, have a siesta. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what is going on here, but it's not good. And yeah, it's just not good. Meanwhile, the allies have done the thing they should be doing. I bet they can't believe their luck, but they have waltzed back into the town. They have taken commanding positions over the key kind of territory on the map. They have the pop growth advantage. They have territory advantage. They didn't earn it, but the Axis have decided that they want to be good charitable folks today. Yeah, I think the allies are got to be pretty happy about this state of affairs right now. They're getting ATGs set up on all key choke points. They've got support weapons. They've got sniper for spotting. They've got the Cali, who's probably going to cause some serious damage right now. And Icki and Chrono are just kind of content to sit here waiting for something. Yeah, you know, don't want to rag on them too much. I know I have already, but these are just the kinds of decisions and the kind of complacency that can turn a game where your team should be winning or is winning into one where you have no chance in hell of coming out on top. Over here on the left, Scaffa is facing the combined power of UKPowerMax and Fabulousrug, who don't really have to worry too much about Unlimited anymore because the Axis have nothing to push over here. And he's going to struggle up against an MG, a sniper, and all of this vanilla infantry, especially by himself. And this team has most of their pop either tied up in units that are sitting still or designed to get this sniper. Let's take a look at this sniper. They could actually get him. Sorry, my mouse messed up for a second. Yeah, I don't know why they're going in this direction. Should be spreading out. Should be looking in different directions. Yeah, Chrono's already seen Icki scout cars go to the left, so I'm not sure why he is also trying to cover the same ground. But this is all great news for UKPowerMax, like that these two didn't coordinate or see where the other one was going and keep moving. When you're trying to hunt down a sniper and he's not where you originally thought, you got to be moving. And they've just wasted too much time. And they could still get it. Could very well still get it, but you know, this very nearly. Yeah, I don't know what Chrono's doing up here. Okay, they got him. I'll eat my words on that one, but boy was that sloppy. Cool. And one thing that's nice to see is that did at least cause a distraction enough for Scaffa to push here. Again, that officer from earlier now has 9 more kills than it did the last time we saw it over here when there was a chance to kill with the Croc. So I think he's just going to continue to be a thorn in the Allies' side. But again, that was a lot of Allied units who just died. You know they're going to be bringing a lot more, but the fact that the Axis have kind of nothing to push with, and it took 2 players with giant sniper call-ins, were really the only contribution that 2 members of the Axis team made to that last fight was getting 1 sniper instead of regaining map control and getting some good positions. So I would be a little worried if I were the Axis that again we are kind of in a position where we're giving all of the initiative to the Allies. Seeing a pretty good mix of units come in from UKPowerMax though. A lot of infantry. I think that's going to go a long way, especially since, well, I was about to say Fabulousrug also is bringing infantry, which is nice, but he's run into the 2 MGs that have kind of been sitting there since the dawn of time. Probably would have been better to bring them down the flank to support on the left. Really great work here from Scaffa. Officer wreaking havoc, Stug going in and suppressing. That officer just continues to be a thorn. The Allies do have the middle of the map still, but they seem a little bit unsure what to do. I don't really think they need to be pushing, you know, this popular Axis picnic spot, because the Axis have kind of already shown that they never want to push away from this area. They're not going to use this as a place of strength to go on the offensive, so just let them sit there. Let them keep all this pop, you know, trapped here, and double team the flank that you know they're not at. I think that's probably a missed opportunity, but looks like they're trying to figure it out though. You know, I think they're trying to figure out that they can just kind of ignore the happy fun times camp fest here and basically isolate Scaffa, who is right now one of the few, or if not the only person on the Axis team who is willing or able to fight elsewhere. This could be a potentially good push. That officer might be on his last legs here, especially since his allies aren't supporting. Yep, there he goes. His reign of terror has finally ended, although the Volks do manage to get a Sherman kill. Always fun to see mass Fausts pull something off. And great job from Fabulousrug here. Yes, his infantry are all vanilla, but there's a lot of munitions tied up in these Volksgrenadiers, and while he took maybe a lot of losses with that push because of the nades of the Volksgrenadiers, he did get some decent kills, although the MG and the Stug are probably going to make all those gains irrelevant. Unlimited is saying he loves his Cali. It's got 10 kills, including, I think it got the last hit on the Tiger, so it's earned its cost. I don't think Calis are great for the amount of pop they tie up and the amount of resources they require. So I don't usually love to see them from a player on my team, but in this case it looks like it's, you know, definitely had an impact, if not a massive one. And you know, the game is still young, it's only 40 minutes in. Maybe it'll have even more as things progress. The allies are looking a little thin on the ground, especially since Fabulousrug kind of fell victim to the great massacre of the Pine Forest here. I wonder if he might be low. He only has 2 units on the field, and there's been enough time that I feel like he would have called on more if he had it. Maybe they're on the way, we'll see. Will be really challenging for the allies though if he is out. Although it also looks like the Axis are feeling a little bit depleted. Scaffa still has plenty more infantry from the looks of it, but Icki has basically none on the field, except for this walking wounded squad. I think kind of a theme of Icki's game so far is too many units that have been on for a long time, draining in lieu of maybe more mobile or more influential ones, and putting a lot of the onus on his teammates, and that could be an issue. And you know what? It could very well be that Fabulousrug is out of units, which is going to be an issue. Really good situation for good teamwork actually for Chrono and Scaff over here on the left. The allies don't really have anything to deal with these late game Stugs. Wouldn't it be nice if they had 2 M10s or a Firefly right about now? Yep. But they don't. But we do have recoilless rifles. That could be game changing. Ooh. It could be game changing, but they've landed right on top of a bunch of infantry. They do have Firefly, they do have Fire Up, and that strafing run will help them live to fight another day. Yeah, that didn't go as bad as it could have. Ooh, Rug is out. Okay, so we were right. I was right. He was out. That's going to suck. Actually, another thing I would say is if he did know he was that low, this big push with all of his infantry actually turns from a questionable idea that ended a disaster to something that never should have happened. When you're low on units, it's really important that you let your team know and that you then play extra conservative from that point out, not only to save what you do have and make sure you still can impact the game, but more importantly, or just as importantly, so that the other team doesn't know that you're eliminated. When you lose your last unit, ouch, mine there, when you lose your last unit, the other team knows that they're now only going to be fighting 2 people. That 2 people can't micro and be everywhere at once. And they're going to be a little more brazen about moving around the map because they can kind of keep track of how many people they're playing against and how many units or tanks or support weapons that those people might have. So when they know you're eliminated, that opens the door for them. So that Stug going down is huge. It's going to be really important that this Croc dies, because as long as that's protecting the RRs, and the RRs are working in tandem, and as long as UKPowerMax is doing something he's quite good at, which is keeping his Airborne alive, it's going to be an issue. This Hellcat also can be an issue, because Chrono is inexplicably got his ATG all the way back here. This Nashorn is vulnerable. This Stug is vulnerable. This Hellcat can do a lot of damage here, if not kept a close watch on. And the amount of infantry that the Allies have, specifically UKPowerMax, is a big problem for the Axis right now. I'm not seeing, other than from Scaffa, enough to deal with the sheer weight of Airborne that are on the field, especially since they have plenty of opportunity to go back and heal up to full health. That's a lot to deal with, a lot. And you know, you can't really counter it with Stugs, can't really counter it with a Nashorn. Tiger would be maybe feasible, but there's just so much there that, backed up by a sniper, that's a big problem. And I know that Chrono had a sniper at one point, but I think it died. I didn't actually make note of it going down, but it's definitely an issue. Okay, can we get this guy? Oh, so close from Scaffa there. So close. That could be game deciding, that sniper just survived there. Let's see what this Stuka barrage can do. Ooh, misses entirely. The Hellcat is down, that's good. These Airborne are kind of trapped, but these riflemen having this LMG. Oh, great nades from Scaffa, great nades. This is a really pivotal final fight. Really pivotal. And I think these Airborne are in no small amount of trouble. Oh, the Croc saves the day, though. They need to kill this thing right now. Good. Main gun's down. But what is the answer for these Airborne? Some more infantry from Scaffa, that'll be key. Oh, why has Icki been saving that mortar half-track? That mortar half-track should have been out a long time ago, when it could have been dealing with stuff. Unlucky RNG on those nades. They went way off target. Yeah, this is definitely looking worse for the Allies than the Axis right now, especially because Scaffa still has infantry. But it's really precarious how little infantry the Axis have on the field. If not for Scaffa's Volksgrenadiers, this would be just a clean wipe. Then the Allies could just easily waltz through and kill most, if not all, of this. So I think it's going to be really key. Hopefully, either Icki or Chrono have more infantry, but it doesn't look like it. Yeah, and I wonder if Icki has enough infantry in his company, especially considering the kinds of allied companies that are currently popular in the meta. Yeah, this could still go either way. The Airborne are the real kind of problem right now. Pretty decent Nebel barrage from Chrono. Probably could afford to move the thing up a little bit to get a little more accuracy. Unlimited's got some anti-infantry, mechanized infantry that can also be pretty impactful. Yeah, the fact that the Allies only have 2 or 3 infantry squads to challenge all of these recoilless rifles and all of this. This one's going to come right down to it, and it's really going to depend on whether the Allies make any mistakes with this big blob, which they probably won't, or at least won't be quick to do. And just, I think this is where the lack of map control for the Axis in consolidating this position so that the Allies have to expend a lot of infantry to take back this ground is coming to haunt the Axis. Because, you know, the fact that the Allies didn't need to waste a lot of their infantry earlier to take this important position on multiple occasions, I think has made it so that they can have a lot of infantry near the end of the game. But like I said, it's still very much up in the air, and you know, there's no telling what side will come out ahead here. Oh, and this is really good to see. That's a huge relief if you're the Axis. That not only does Scav have more infantry, but he has a lot more. That's actually now gonna, I think, tilt the odds pretty heavily in the Axis favor, even though Unlimited's sniper is still alive. And it looks like Unlimited is asking in chat whether the Axis still have tanks left. They've got 2 Stugs. Is the Nashorn still alive? I don't. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So they have quite a bit. And really the only AT that the Allies have, although they could probably find an ATG somewhere to pick up, are these Airborne from UKPowerMax. But yeah, looking back now, and if we think about how long ago it was that Fabulousrug was eliminated, he has really done his team no favors here by throwing away all of his units that quickly. Looks like UKPowerMax is going to run into a lot of Volksgrenadiers here. Yeah, he very wisely doesn't wants no part of that fight. He knows probably that this game, win or lose, hinges on keeping these guys alive and contributing. And this is where I think the vice is starting to kind of close in on the Allies a little bit. They do not have the AT because they squandered it early, other than these Airborne, to deal with this. Yeah, this is going to be really tough. A Firefly would be amazing for them right now. Some N10s would be great. Yeah, the Axis are starting to slowly apply more and more pressure. That's a nice mortar barrage from Icki, although I still think that mortar half-track has come out far too late. This Nashorn is probably about to have a bad time, although great positioning from Chrono's MG there, forcing the Airborne to use their fire up, sorry. But UKPowerMax wants this Nashorn gone, and he will get it gone. And let's see, Icki actually has more infantry, that's good to see, but again, like, some of that infantry should have been brought out sooner. Yeah, I don't see how the Allies win at this point. So if they do, that's going to be really impressive to see. The Cali probably needs to be moving back a little bit here. But yeah, I think the Allies are kind of in this really awkward position where they don't have the ability to have AT in more than one place at once. Yeah, this is looking pretty grim. Oh, and more stuff coming in from the Axis. Yeah, I think this one's over. This one's likely over. There's only so much these Airborne can do. I think they maybe came out a little too late in the game when there was no longer the anti-infantry support to kind of let them wreak havoc. Yeah, I think the theme of the day, if this continues the way it clearly looks like it's going, and if the Axis do end up carrying this one, I think the theme of the day for the Allies is when and which decisions were made about unit composition. I don't think there's any fault in the companies that the Allies brought to the field, but I think there's definitely probably some really important learnings about when they used the units from those companies, and making sure they got their timing right and coordinated better with their team, which is not easy to do. You know, I don't say that to make it seem like it's easy or that you know, it's obvious, but you know, when you're watching a Shoutcast or you're looking at a replay of a game, these are some of the things that you notice that are good to keep in mind while you're actually in the game, if you can. Yeah, and it looks like this is good night for the Allies. Although these Airborne are going to keep causing havoc to the bitter end, they are a really, really tricky unit if used right to eliminate. They have a lot of staying power, especially when they're grouped like this, and especially when they have a sniper supporting them in this kind of late game scenario. But they're running out of room to retreat. All things considered, pretty interesting game. You know, not super close, I guess, in the end. I definitely would have loved to see more initiative and a little more momentum from the Axis. I think that this game didn't need to be as close as it was. But yeah, I would worry if the teams maybe had, you know, were a little bit more even, that what was kind of happening around here would have, you know, 9 times out of 10 lost the game for the Axis. So I think they got lucky, but that said, this is not over yet. This is not over at all. No, probably don't want to be, you know, singing the funeral dirge just yet. The Allies do have a decent amount of infantry. These Airborne, you know, we saw it with Chrono. Those 2 Storm Shrek squads got into a little bit of danger. He pulled them off right away. UKPowerMax wants to win. He's not gonna, you know, give up the game just because one of his units was in a bit of trouble. He's going to keep fighting, and I think that's the right way to go. And the Allies could still come back here because of how forgiving the pop counters are in OMG. You can last a little bit longer without any map control and without any territory. With that said, oh, more infantry from Icki. Yeah, it's gonna be hard, but it's not out of the question that the Allies could pull this off. They need to kill this MG, that's for sure. They need to kill this squad. Yeah, it's just, I don't think it's likely, but they're making a go of it. And again, it's not over. Yeah, that MG is a major thorn in their side. Stug continues to kind of be a thorn in their side. I don't know why Icki isn't pulling that back. Okay, good. So it looks like Unlimited might have more units to call on, but he's out of pop. But what does he mean by no pop? He's got 20 left to spare. Yeah, this is still close, though. Okay, yeah, it's over. Not as decisive though as it could have been. I have to give the Allies a lot of credit for continuing to fight there. They did give up way too much pop control too early, but overall, pretty good game. Pretty interesting to watch. Axis side would say the MVPs of the game are the Volksgrenadiers, who for almost the entire game were the meat and driving force of everything the Axis had going. the MVP of the Allied side, I would say it would be the Airborne normally. They got a lot of kills at the end, but they just came way too late, and the game was kind of over when they showed up. I don't know who I would give it to on the Allied side, but yeah, interesting game. Some cool things to see, some good learnings about, you know, camping too much if you're the Axis and giving up territory way too easily uncontested, and if you're the Allies, just coordinating and making sure you're bringing on the units you need and that you're going to need, and not getting trapped with a bunch of your pop tied up and stuff that isn't suited to the current situation on the field. But that's it for this one. Thank you everyone for watching. If you've made it this far, I'll keep trying to occasionally pump one of these things out. So if you already play OMG and you have a good game, please don't hesitate to either send it to me or post it in the OMG Discord. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.